welcome. And first things I want to do is I want to thank our board of directors. There we go. Our board has been so supportive of us, not only through COVID, but every day, lending their expertise, lending their support. They know how to get behind an organization that's here to assist in economic development on Long Island, to assist in keeping young people here on Long Island, workforce development, and for making the business connections that everyone in this audience wants. So I want to ask our board just to stand up for a second, because I want to give them a round of applause. So although Governor Hochul was unable to join us today, Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado sent us a message, which we want to share with you right now. So if you could turn your attentions to the screens on either side, we're going to play that video.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the HIA's 45th annual meeting and legislative program. While the governor and I are disappointed we couldn't make it to this morning's meeting, I could not miss the opportunity to share greetings with some of Long Island's key business leaders. Thank you to HIA-LI President and CEO Terry Alessi Maselli for inviting me to this morning's event. HIA-LI is a powerful regional force for economic development and a staunch advocate for the region's business community. In partnership with the HIA-LI, New York State has been able to successfully advance several key initiatives to improve infrastructure and promote economic development here on Long Island. So, Governor Hochul and I hope we can count on all of you to continue partnering with us over the next year to accomplish the bold agenda the governor laid out in her State of the State this week. And I promise that you can continue to count on us as your partners to continue supporting Long Island's economy, its vibrant business community, and to further the quality of life. Thank you again for having me today.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce our past board chair, President and CEO of H2M Architects and Engineers, and that would be no other than Richard Heumann.
Good morning, everybody. And this is how it's supposed to be, right? The energy in the room is fantastic. And one of the things that Terry asked me to do is reflect on the last couple of years. And I think all of our hard work in the last couple of years has resulted in a day like today. So I want to thank Terry. I think one of the most rewarding parts of the last 2 years has been our relationship and the fact that I got to work closely with, who I believe is just the top leader on Long Island. She is relentless. Her commitment, will text like literally 24/7. It could be a Saturday or a Sunday if there's something going on that she believes our organization should advocate for, be a part of, support. It's great work with somebody who never shuts it down, because I also never shut it down. So we're always connecting with each other. I also think that my opportunity to get closer to a lot of our board members has been another significant reward, I think, over the last couple of years. And there's no doubt that any organization's success is always going to be driven by the commitment of the board members, and our board members are fantastic in this organization. So I appreciate that. And if nothing else, my hope is that the energy and the presence today is an indication of optimism that we should all have for the future. If we can finally say that the last couple of years are in the rearview mirror, I know I tell that to my employees all the time. We want to do business on our terms, not on anybody else's terms, and having the pandemic be behind us allows us to do business on our terms. That's how businesses can be most successful. So with that, I'm now going to introduce our Suffolk County executive. He's going to say a few words for us, and although kind of last minute, so I don't have a bio for Steve, it's okay? Because I think I've read your bio like 4 times. I should know it by heart by now, but Steve Bellone.
Thank you for sparing everyone that. Rich, thank you very much. First of all, let's give Rich Heumann a great round of applause for the wonderful work that he's done as chair of this incredibly important organization. But also, one of the things I'm going to briefly talk about today, one of the critical issues for our region, He has been a leader in his work at H2M. We've worked closely on, which is water quality. Rich, thank you for everything you've done for our region. So the good news for us here, as we talk about these challenges, water quality, economic development, is we really have seen an unprecedented level of coordination and cooperation amongst leaders in this region. And that's including the individuals on this panel today, even though there are no other Democrats. This really has been a bipartisan effort.
They were invited, Steve.
They were invited.
They were invited.
Yeah, the Democrats are not up on the stage, but it's not bad. But in all seriousness, that is so important because there is plenty of time to talk about issues that we differ on, to talk about differences in policy, and to do the politics, right? So many of the people here understand the politics. But what has been critical here is that the leadership you see here in this room has been willing particularly on these big issues, to put the politics aside and say what matters more is the future of Long Island. The plan we have in place, two things that are at the heart of that are, very simply, to simplify this as much as I can. Basically, you need a countywide wastewater district in order to be able to have a vehicle to both fund the infrastructure, wastewater infrastructure, and to manage it over the long term to be able to fix this problem. Second piece is you need a local recurring funding source in order to be able to build the infrastructure that is necessary in the coming years and decades. And that funding source can be used and is necessary to leverage the federal and state dollars that are out there. If you put those two things in place, we are as a region, will be on a pathway to solving this crisis. Second issue is sustainable economic development. We all recognize in this region, we are a high-cost region, we have to be creating high-paying jobs in order to sustain our economy, in order to keep our property values up, keep property taxes down. That is critical. Good news again, leaders up here, my partners in the legislature, we've been working together to make the investments to create sustainable economic development. And where we've been focused particularly on, as you've heard me say before here, is at Ronkonkoma. Why? Because that's where the opportunity is. It is an incredibly unique site, and we've been working hand in hand in partnership with Supervisor Angie Carpenter and the town of Islip to maximize and leverage that site to the advantage of the region. What do we have at that site? You have the main line of the railroad, the hub of the system in Suffolk County, the third largest station in the system on Long Island Railroad. You already have a major TOD that is happening at Ronkonkoma under the leadership of Supervisor Romaine over the last number of years. That site is also immediately adjacent to the region's airport, Long Island MacArthur, owned and operated by the town of Islip. You have a huge amount of developable land there. The main line of the railroad has been the subject of $15 billion worth of investment by the state and federal government in double track, third track, east side access. Governor Hochul is about to open that up. I want to thank Elisa Pica, who is formerly with the Long Island Railroad, is our Deputy Commissioner in Economic Development, for her work there. So there is no other site on Long Island that presents the kind of economic development opportunity that this site presents. And what do we have an opportunity to do? Governor Hochul has made it a point to invest, and she has done this for some time now, in the innovation ecosystem on Long Island, in a sustainable startup environment for Long Island. She's been making those investments through Empire State Development in a great way. Carol Longworth, who is a great partner and a great leader in economic development, making those investments. And because of those investments, we have the opportunity to create Long Island's first commercial life sciences hub. Also because of great companies that we have here at the HIA, the great innovation assets that we have, Stony Brook University, Brookhaven National Laboratory, Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory, Feinstein Institute. We have the ingredients necessary to become one of the centers for the life sciences in the United States. That will not happen immediately overnight, but all the ingredients are there, and if we do that, We will create tens of thousands of high-paying jobs over the coming years and decades that will help sustain our economic future. Ronkonkoma is key to that. That is the place where we really can build that first commercial life sciences hub. The private sector has responded to the way that we are working together at every level of government in a bipartisan way. Northwell Health has committed to the site now. Applied DNA, a homegrown life sciences company, has committed to the site now. This is an opportunity that we must seize. We cannot let this moment pass where we have all of the stakeholders working together in the region to do something that will matter decades from now for Long Island's future. So I'm very excited. I know we have a great panel, Joe, so I'm going to cut it there. And we want to hear from all of the panelists. But do know this, you have a lot of leaders in this region now here, including working with leaders in labor and the environmental community, the business community, working together to make a difference for Long Island's future. And I thank all of you for what you're doing out there each and every day to help build a brighter future for all of us. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to everyone as well.
Some quick updates. So as the president and CEO of the HIA-LI, you know, I'm always so proud that I'm leading an organization along with our board members that has a heart, a real heart in the Long Island business community. And we've accomplished a lot as we have in the past years in 2022. We continue, as you know, to advocate for the Long Island Innovation Park. You will laugh for a moment that we laugh about one of the biggest accomplishments that we've had in this park is that everywhere Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone goes, he talks about the park and how large it is. And, you know, ultimately the sustainability study that was done in 2016, along with the Suffolk IDA and RPA, really our ultimate goal was to help people understand the economic output and input that the park has, number one, and to expand and grow the park. So one of the strategies that came out of it was a growth strategy, and they said you need to brand the park. People cannot just pass the park and see, well, it looks big. You know, I talk about it a lot, 55,000 employees, an economic output of 13 billion, not million, but 13 billion. So it's a major economic engine. You will begin to see in probably a few months some vanity flags all over the park that will identify the park as not only the largest, but the Long Island Innovation Park at Hop Hog. Thank you for those of you who have bought those flags. Thank you to Paul Pachter for that idea. Please get involved. The only way to make a difference is have a voice and get involved. So I have the pleasure of welcoming up our past treasurer. I hate to say past treasurer, Bob Corte. I will say that this is his, 2022 was his last term, so help me welcome up. You do a brief treasurer's report, Mr. Bob Corte.
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year, especially to Joe Campolo. I will say, I mean, it is really nice to see a full room. The political dignitaries, it really is a great vibe, I have to say. It's really kind of difficult. My final term as treasurer of the HIA-LI, certainly the last few years has had its challenges, no question. But I'm so proud of the many people who continue to guide this organization so that it not only did we not miss a beat, but we thrived actually during these past several years. From Terry Alisi Maselli, our president, to the dedicated staff of the HIA-LI, I give you guys kudos all the time, to the board members, all of them consistently rise to the occasion. And I just applaud everyone involved because this organization would not be what it is without the people that I just mentioned. I thank all of you for your hard work and tireless efforts, which has enabled the HIA to actually pivot quickly. We've actually increased revenues in the last couple of years with limited resources, and we continue to be there, which is really important for our members and the Long Island business community as a whole. The past 2 years certainly have been years of rebuilding, and helping us get back to some sense of normalcy, whatever that may be. And honestly, normal, there is no such thing. Change is coming, and we need to be nimble, and we need to be able to pivot quickly and move and be flexible. And that's what this organization has done. And at this point, it's a great pleasure to introduce Kevin O'Connor, our Secretary of the HIA-LI, for a few words. Thank you so much.
So I want to pick up on a lot of the things that have been said here today. It's been obviously a challenging couple of years, but again, to look around the room and see everybody here is incredibly exciting. We did survive. I think we thrived. Terry, the job that you did was amazing. Rich, it was incredible to work with you, and I'm glad it wasn't always on those Saturday and Sunday texts, so thank you for saving me from that. But my job is to identify our officers, to identify who's been elected to the board, re-elected, and new board members. So let me take care of that. Certainly an impressive group, and again, I think we're all excited about, as we said, getting back to normal, and this is the beginning of that. So welcome you all. And with that, I get the great pleasure. I don't have the bio of you, Joe Campolo. I don't know. But
Chop, chop.
what?
Chop, chop.
It'd be long. All right, Joe. Joe, take over the committee.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Bob, Happy New Year. Rich, thanks for everything these past 2 years. And Carol and new board members, really excited to have everybody on board. The question I'm going to throw out to the panel is, this is great. We're super optimistic. Everybody's done their New Year's resolutions, and we're optimistic and taking off. But we like to be realists. And what these last few years have shown us are that people and businesses are leaving New York. They're just leaving New York. And they're going to Carolina, they're going to Florida, they're going to Arizona, they're going to other places. And one of the responsibilities as business leaders and elected officials that we have is to find creative ways to help retain those businesses in our jurisdictions. So I'm going to throw that to the panel. I'm going to start with the Congressman, but I do want to get a sense, and I'm sure everybody here is really curious of what your first 2 weeks in Washington have been like. So if you can just share with us a couple of minutes on that, and then we can start the question there.
So my first 2 decades in Washington, I said throughout the course of the campaign that the best job I ever had was being a young naval officer. And now 10 days into being a member of the United States Congress, the best job I ever had is being a young naval officer. Pete King and I were texting not too long ago, and we were joking around that I have now voted for Speaker of the House more times in my first day in Congress than he did in 28 years. And it provided, honestly, for me to take 2 lessons away. That leadership, especially among the junior ranks in the House, matters. Honesty matters. We may have different opinions and ideas upon how to govern, but the baseline fundamental thing is that there should be honesty and integrity and trust among us. And I sit here looking at my fellow panelists, and I see other folks with whom I've served in government before, and there is a common trust and decency amongst probably every single one of us, despite us sometimes within the own party and more often within the other party, disagreeing with each other on fundamental matters. But there's always a baseline of trust. So proud that more and more people have come out to say what we're all thinking, what was all and what should be right, because I think that we need to correct that wrong if we're going to move forward as an island, as a government.
Great. Thank you. The only controversial thing you said is that the media exaggerated the issue. I mean, they never do that, so it's all good, right? So getting back to our question, so you know Long Island really pretty well. You know the business community really pretty well. And so what are your priorities in your first term in Washington to help us out?
Simply put, to fulfill the promises I made in the campaign. And they're generally 5-fold. And the first 4 are encapsulated in the Republican conference's commitment to America. And that's a stronger economy, that's more public safety, that's protecting our freedoms and holding the administration accountable. You can go to a website, you can Google it, or I can sit here for 20 minutes. I think you probably prefer the Googling part. But that's our commitment that we all as candidates in our conference have made to our specific constituencies. And the 5th is bringing home the bacon for the 1st District of New York State. I know that we're probably going to talk about Long Island specific issues, and cost of living I understand to be one of them. I think it's incumbent upon members of both parties who serve in the House and the Senate to help ensure that we bend the cost curve or the cost of living here in New York State. For every dollar a New Yorker sends to the federal government in taxes, we get a mere 93 cents back. That's the 5th worst return on investment of any state in the union. There's a bunch of different ways to make that better. One of them is to ensure that your federal representatives can, especially when they serve in a majority, can help bring more resources back home. Infrastructure dollars are important. Other things to offset cost of living are important. And that's the 5th thing I intend to do, is ensure that we help bring home resources to Long Island to make our quality of life and cost of living a little bit better.
Great, thank you. Senator Mattera, so I love Mario dearly, and I love the fact that you come from labor and have that perspective, Mario. So you've been living shoulder to shoulder with HIA now since you've been elected, and we appreciate that very much. What are your priorities for this year for business?
So, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for the invite with HIA, the panel, the board, what you guys do to make sure that we thrive here, especially in my district, which is Smithtown. And I look at this room and I say how diverse everybody is. Strength with numbers wins all the time, and we need to utilize that. That's what we've done with the building trades. I got my president, Mattera, here, and I got Josh Slaughter here also, too, that we fight for people that have a decent wage, a decent health care, and a decent pension. I always say this, construction is the backbone of the whole economy. We need to make sure local jobs for local people, and we keep it here. And I know everybody on both sides, being bipartisanship is so, so important. I'm looking forward also to working with our congressman, just like he said, show us the money. Again, to be in this room with all this talent, and I'm asking everybody, when we need help up in Albany, please, we're gonna be calling out, and we need, just think about this, HIA, how important HIA is to our region, the 2nd largest, right, innovation park in the whole country. It needs to be the 1st. We need to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, and next what? In this room, we could get it done with manufacturing and bring it all home. And we don't need it overseas. Let's build it here in the USA. Thank you.
Thanks, Mario. We'll turn to your counterpart in the other house, a good friend of HIA over the years, and to Long Island and Smithtown, Assemblyman Mike Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Joe, and good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. As Mario said, it's tough being a member of the minority in these, I in the Assembly, Mario in the Senate. We have a saying, we win the debates, we just lose the votes. But we live in New York State, deep blue state, high tax, high cost of living, tough place to run a business, tough place to start a business, tough place to recruit new businesses to come to. But I had the opportunity to talk to the governor after the State of the State speech at the mansion. I said, Governor Hochul, the housing goals are admirable, but on Long Island, we need money for sewers. I said, we need $3.9 million just to do, we had a promise from a prior administration for $3.9 million to install sewers. We never got that money. And we're gonna need more if we're gonna, the only way it's gonna work on Long Island is sewerage. I want to touch on another subject that when you say what's my priority and what am I working on, I've been on the higher education committee since the day I arrived in Albany. That's 20 years now. And I would talk to the students, because when I was in high school in 1975 looking at colleges, I thought, nobody recommended a SUNY school as your first choice. It was never no one's reach school for sure. It was always a safety school, safety choice. And I would ask these students, is that stigma still there? When the Binghamton students came into lobby, the Stony Brook, the Buffalo students. And I discovered, and I started advancing this idea a few years ago, and I had it at a pretty high level before the pandemic. But I started asking the students, what if we rebranded the university and dropped the SUNY acronym and became the University of New York? If you want to call it UNY for short, like UVA or UNC, it's catchy. I think that works too. But everybody benefits. It unifies the system. It creates a national brand. And even our colleges, UNY, College at Geneseo, UNY, College at Farmingdale, they benefit from that brand as well. I believe the next step, and this is a long-term goal we need to have, is take the University of New York and get into one of the what they call the Power 5 conferences in college athletics.
Thanks, Mike. I know your passion, and we appreciate that.
Right.
You know, and so representatives here from the legislature, federal and state legislature have certain set of issues that they have to work through, and now we get into the executives that have another set of issues that they have to work through, and we're so lucky that we have, you know, these three town supervisors who, between them, I can't imagine any more experienced people than the three of them for running Long Island. We're going to start with Angie Carpenter, and she's a perfect example of someone who carries a big stick, but yet when I was at the Breeze Airlines unveiling and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was there, he said publicly, Angie, baby, I'll do anything for you. So let's welcome Town Supervisor Angie Carpenter.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Schumer is quite the senator. It has to be so cool to be able to say whatever you want to say, but when you're in a position like he is to deliver the bacon, and he certainly has, and we're very, very grateful for him and his leadership, his tenacity, and his love for New York. There are so many gathered here this morning from various sectors, and I love the fact that all levels of government took the time to be here today, because I've been involved for a very long time. And I can remember coming to an HIA meeting like this and being maybe only one or two legislators who bothered to take the time to interact on that level with the business community. And it is so important, and it's great to see so many legislators here. It's great to see the supervisor of the town of Riverhead to be here today and understand that when we're addressing these issues, we're doing it globally. And I think I saw yes, Stacy from the LIA. And I think that's very important too, that all organizations are working together, be it labor, and Matty is shaking his head, and education and the business community. So what can we do? What can we do in the town? Well, I think for all of the things that government can do, one of the biggest things we can do sometimes is get out of the way and let businesses let people do what they do best. We need to be there to assist. We don't need to be there to micromanage. We have a team in the town, and I'm looking at our planning commissioner, who too took the time to be here, who comes from the private sector, who gets it, who understands time is money, and we've got to keep projects moving so that we are doing all we can on that level. You know, time is running short, and I could go on and I won't, but I appreciate the county executive's remarks about Midway Crossing, the fact, too, that it was mentioned in the Lieutenant Governor's remarks about the North Terminal moving. So now's the time for the governor to step up and do the right thing, because the county executive has asked for $150 million for that project. There's $350 million that are slated for transformative, real, sustainable projects. So there's a lot that you can do if you're willing to sit down, join hands, and work together. And one more shout out to young Mr. Kolka. His father was a legend. Terry, thank you for mentioning it. He had a vision, and here we are today, 45 years later. So thank you to everybody.
Next, I'd like to welcome Town Supervisor Ed Romaine from the town of Brookhaven. And welcome to our panel. I think this is the first time that I've had the pleasure of moderating you, and we appreciate that. I've lived in Brookhaven almost all my adult life, and so we'd love to hear, Ed, what your priorities are for this upcoming year.
Thank you. I want to thank the LIA. And Joe, I listen to you on 103.9 when you speak with Jay Oliver every so often and impart words of wisdom to him. This is a great organization. And it has meant a great deal to the town of Smithtown and the town of Islip, and to the Hot Park School District, where I used to teach many, many years ago. So you asked about business. First thing about business is tax policy. Yep. And I'm talking about total tax policy. Real estate, sales, personal, business tax. Why are people leaving New York? Because it's a difficult environment. Not impossible, but a difficult environment. So examining tax policy, not only on the local level, but on the state and federal level, is crucial. What else? Speak to every economist and ask them, what do we do to improve productivity in this country? If we don't guarantee good infrastructure, proper tax policy, and proper power sources that are affordable for our industry, we condemn ourselves to a future not as bright as we should have. We should demand this. And if the HIA, LIA, and all the other organizations that structure about advocacy at the state, the federal level, that's what we need to do. We need to focus on those issues that will move Suffolk County and Long Island forward. This is the time for serious people who want to make change, who want to build an affordable future for this island. That's how we keep business here.
Thanks, Ed. You know, our next speaker, our friend the Congressman talked about the need for honesty and keeping your word in government. And the Innovation Park for many, many years had a very tenuous relationship, shall I say, with the town of Smithtown. And when Ed was running for town supervisor, he came and talked to our board and said, I want to be a partner in this adventure that you're on. We talk about sewers, the county's trying to get it all done so we can get those, but we encourage builders to really start looking at the park. But Ed, I'll turn it over to you now.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I want to thank you, Joe. Thank you, Terry. It's always great to go last because everything they said falls on what I'm going to say now. I could say two Eds are better than one. That's always the case. So, Ed Romaine and Angie Carpenter are absolutely correct. You need to have infrastructure. Infrastructure is the number one issue that we need to produce in our municipalities and on Long Island to move forward. In Smithtown, our legislative priorities are to keep what we call our Smithtown Renaissance moving forward. It has not always been that way. We took office in 2018, and as Joe said, we started to partner with everybody that we could. And HIA is very, very important. The Innovation Park, Lodges in Smithtown, I share some of it with Angie Carpenter, but
another good partner of ours.
Imperative to the town of Smithtown to make sure that that park advances into the future and prospers. We believe that is the linchpin, sewering and mixed use in that park will really bring the park into the future. So we're doing our part. I have had conversations during the election cycle with our newly elected Congressman, Nick LaLota. Congressman, congratulations. And they were very productive conversations. He is aware of what we need, and we will be sitting down with him. And I would ask the Congressman to talk to Senator Mattera and Assemblyman Fitzpatrick, who will tell you that I'm probably the biggest pain in the ass that they have. I will continue to haunt them.
Guys are always asking for money.
So that we can continue with our renaissance and do good things, partnering with my fellow supervisors for Long Island. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to everybody.
Ed, I'm going to start with you down that end, and we're going to work down this end. So, you know, basic tenet of government is economic stability and safety, right? So I think Angie said it best when she said the best role for government sometimes is to get out of the way of business. And but for crime and safety, it's where we really rely on government and elected officials to protect the community. And it seems like there's uptick in crime big time across the country and particularly in the state. So I'm just curious from your guys' perspective, and we'll work down with that question, what you're seeing and how your team is handling that.
Okay, so you are correct. Smithtown has always been noted as a very safe town, but I can tell you that it is spilling over into our areas. We work closely with the 4th Precinct as well as making great enhancements in our public safety department. We have hired additional park rangers that patrol our parks and our downtown business districts. So we're putting that investment into law enforcement as well. I think it's absolutely necessary to try and combat crime the best we can at a local level.
Great. Supervisor Romaine?
I would echo the statements. The 5 western towns in Suffolk County since 1960 do not have their own police departments. The 5 eastern towns do, and 9 villages, 4 in the western section and 5 in the eastern part of the county, have their own police force. We don't have a police force. What we do have, which most towns have, is a public safety whose major job is to provide protection for town buildings and parks, but don't have law enforcement powers. We have to work very closely with our civic associations and with the 5th, 6th, 7th, and a little bit of the 4th that constitute Brookhaven.
That was a great slogan, crime doesn't pay. Remember that slogan that we used to have here in the state? Supervisor Carpenter?
Talking about slogans, and I'm sorry he's not here any longer, and that was the DA, Ray Tierney, because I've heard him say this time and time again. They're very serious about prosecuting people who break the law, that there are consequences, and you can't steal other people's stuff. And another kind of crime that we really came through pretty well recently, and that's cybercrime. And, I think everybody, businesses too, are so vulnerable, and it's not a matter of if, but when, and you have to be prepared. And I just tell everybody out there, get cyber insurance if you don't have it, and it's very much like life insurance. If you want life insurance, you've got to get a physical, and you've got to be able to demonstrate that you're insurable and not a real risk. So when we moan and groan about having to change our passwords, it seems like every other day there's a reason for it. And, okay, that's it.
Thanks. Thank you.
Crime is a very real problem. If we don't get a handle on this and we don't do something, and I think that the governor really has to step up here and push hard against the progressives in her party who do not want to change anything, we're going to have, the New York City is going to have real difficulty in getting back to its former glory. But there will always be evil in the world, and there will always be the need to address that and do the right thing there. And we need to get some people in the legislature to come around to that way of thinking.
Great, thank you.
First, I'd just like to recognize again, I know it's been said already, but Devin Kolka, please rise. Where's Devin? This man and his dad, last night I was at the Suffolk Jewish Community Center last night, and I was walking by with the staff, with Rick Lewis and everybody. I was walking by, and I saw your dad's photo, and I tell you, it just gave me chills for what he has done, our forefather, what he's done for this park and everything like that. And I just want to recognize in you for your dad, and thank you so much, and everything like that. Appreciate you very much. Absolutely. I'm going to be really stern about this one, especially that when I was running for office and everything like that, in other words, it needs to be repealed. I'm sorry, the cashless bail offenses, if anybody ever seen these offenses that I could show you, if anybody wants to see this, in other words, you could be at a schoolyard with drugs and near or at a schoolyard, and you can have cashless bail and get out. So you know what? Again, I do not want anybody to be incarcerated. I'm telling you, with me being with the Plumbers Union, we plenty of lives that, in other words, that I have saved, that, in other words, we're going down the wrong road with the building trades. We have an open door policy. Let's fix your lives. Let's make sure that you have a career. Let's get you into an apprenticeship program that we need people desperately right now, especially in the construction industry, and start your lives new. That's what we need to do as legislators, to make sure that we're out there educating people so they don't do the crime. To go sit there and say that we have 4.5% unemployment with New York State right now, we have more jobs than people. I have business owners sitting here around this table that, in other words, are looking for people. 4.5% unemployment? No, we need to do a better job as legislators to make sure that people are going to work. That is so, so important. So we don't have issues of people going to go and commit crimes. So again, I'm going to say this, repeal cashless bail. We need to start fresh. Thank you.
So the enforcement of our laws is generally a state and local matter. I want to commend Senator Mattera and Assemblyman Fitzpatrick for their leadership on pushing back on that terrible cashless bail law that was jammed down New Yorkers' throats not too long ago. Their leadership is essential, and I saw briefly before Senator Rhodes in the room before. I know he campaigned and will lead on this issue as well. But the federal government is not without responsibility as well. And we owe a more coherent immigration policy, especially where it comports with labor needs. I've met with some of you over the course of the campaign in the last couple of weeks. We need to understand what labor needs are and have an expedited process to ensure that folks who complement our community's labor needs, their legal entry into this country is expedited. Thanks.
Great, thank you. We only have a few minutes left, but I'm sure all of you have a point you want to make that you weren't able to make, maybe two. But I'd ask you to limit it to a minute, minute and a half. Ed, I'll start with you down on the end, and you know, any comment you want to make that you weren't able to make, let's get that out now.
Sure. Again, I want to thank you. It was a great morning to be here with you. What I said is about continuing the Renaissance with Smithtown. We want to continue down that path. I know it's been said before, but we need all your help here. When we have to make difficult decisions, especially here on a local level, we need the support to back us up. And that was indicative of the mixed-use overlay zones that we put in this park. I do want to say thanks to Matt Arsich for all the work you do. Thank you for labor for helping us, Matt. Matt's been a huge part of our success, and we want to continue our relationship. I want to wish you all a happy, healthy New Year, and I hope we're all prosperous and we move on from here. Thank you.
Thanks. Supervisor Romaine.
I'd like to thank the HIA, as well as other organizations like the Long Island Association, who talk about the ideas that are going to move Long Island forward. There is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And I think the idea has come, the time has come for us to move this island forward. And the ideas that were talked about today are going to do exactly that. We just have to get a consensus, get behind it, and push. And if we do, we will be successful and we will move Long Island forward. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Supervisor Carpenter.
I want to thank everyone sitting here who lasted the entire time, really for taking the time to be here, because I know everybody is busy and you could have found other things to do and reasons for not being here. But the LIA worked real hard. The LIA, they do work hard, but the HIA Long Island worked very hard on putting this event together. Terry and Joe and everyone else involved. And if you didn't come, it's like throwing a party, and it's very disappointing. So thank you for supporting them and taking what you heard here today and running with it, trying to help us, help everyone, help business be successful, and help people feel comfortable with being here and living here and proud of being part of Long Island. And to that, I'm going to say, I was on a call yesterday, and we talked about getting people to love their airport. Well, they love the airport. They love Long Island MacArthur Airport. I just need everybody to use it a little bit more often. And I know we need more flights, but it's like the chicken and the egg. So keep using the airport. And to the folks out in the IDA, the great job that you do, I know a lot of times is a little bit of a bum rap, but you are making a difference in helping facilitate businesses and creation of jobs. And that's what it really is all about. So with that, I just want to wish everyone a very, very happy, healthy, prosperous new year, that we all work together as one island. And to that effect, the Town of Islip Unity Council is having a unity service Friday at noon, the 27th, at Town Hall West in the auditorium, bringing together all the elected officials and community leaders and business leaders to come together and realize that we are in this together. We have to work together. We are one. Thank you.
I want to wish everyone a very prosperous 2023. And I want to ask everybody, just focus on the future. Think about where we want to be. I envision a rebranded state university that's a national brand, becomes a national brand, and then we leverage that national brand to create a sports program that qualifies for membership in one of the major conferences. Why are we not thinking bigger in terms of our state university? UNY can happen, UNY must happen in my view, and it is a tremendous opportunity for all of you out here, and I think for the future of New York State. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the governor, because after I talk to Chancellor King, I'm going to make an appointment to talk to her and bring this to her attention, and I want her on board as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Senator, you like that, right? Being called senator, you like that? Yeah.
You know, that's still weird. When I go up to Albany, it's like this. I'm walking around, hi, I'm Mario Mattera, and my legislative director comes up to me, you got to see Senator Mario Mattera. I said, it's too difficult for me to do that. But you know, I want to give a round of applause, obviously, to the HIA for having this, the 45th event. You know, to Joe, well, obviously, our Terry. Come on, let's give it up for our Terry. I have a Terry home. Joe, Rich, all of the board, thank you so much for what you do to get everybody, this diverse group together to make sure that we're going to be moving together. And you know what? We're going to be reaching out to everybody. But you know what? Mario Mattera, jobs, jobs, jobs. That is so, so important in local jobs. Local. God bless everybody here. Happy New Year. God bless you. God bless everybody in this room again, and especially God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Congressman will give you the final thought.
So I'd like to say thanks for allowing me the opportunity to have the microphone for maybe 3 or 4 different times this morning, and thank you for not making me cast 15 votes for something today. I do appreciate that more than you know. But on a serious note, I trust, like many, if not all of you, that we live in the greatest country our world has ever known. We have more freedoms and opportunities than any other country that the world has ever known. But we need your encouragement to keep on texting, calling, meeting with us to push us in the right direction to ensure those opportunities exist not only here in this area, this region, but the country as a whole. We like hearing that encouragement. We like sitting through those meetings, and we like ensuring that the next generation of Long Islanders and Americans have their chance at this awesome country as well. So thank you for what you do for our country as well.
Thank you all, and I'll invite Terry up for closing remarks.
So it's like a love fest up here, don't you think? As I listened to it, that's what I thought. But in all seriousness, we want to thank not only the panel of dignitaries, but the dignitaries that are in the audience who advocate for us on a daily basis. And listen, we want to thank all of you, because every day you get up, right? You go to work, you run your companies, you employ employees, and you give back in a very positive way to this economy. So thank you all. Join us February 15th for our Economic Summit. We're partnering with Citron Cooperman and Adelphi University. Real excited about this, and we are optimistic about 2023. Thank you.